I want to give a shout out to all my patrons. First, thank you so much to my Bibliospren, Bibliohowlers, Bibliomancer, and my new Bibliomancer, Frank. Thank you so much for supporting my hobby and passion even more. Hi everyone, Petrik here. Today I will be talking about all the books that I finished last month in the month of May 2023. And speaking about quantity, I think I managed to finish 5 books and also 1 volume of manga. So that's lesser than my usual standard, but that's totally okay with me because you know what, my May reading month was pretty damn good. But the reason behind this lower drop in the quantity of reading is because some TV shows have been taking over my life, and yeah, I've been trying to catch up with some of the animes and also TV show like Succession. I'm only 2 seasons in, so do not spoil me on that. I heard that the show has ended and I really want to catch up on it. I really loved the TV show. It's been a while since I've been this immersed in the TV show, and I hope Succession continue to blow me away. But anyway, in the month of May, I managed to finish 5 books, and one of them is actually the 4th 5 stars rating of the year so far. Yes, this is the fourth 5 stars I gave to a book within this year so far. But I will talk about that later. First, the book that I finished last month is actually my Patreon's pick for the book of the month, and it is Nolyn by Michael J. Sullivan. So this is the first book in the Rise and Fall trilogy, and well, although this is often marketed by Michael J. Sullivan himself to be a standalone book that you can read without reading any books in the world of Elan, which is the same world that the Legends of the First Empire and all the Rhyria books, I strongly do not recommend that. I mean, I guess technically you can consider that the story here is a standalone, but it is hard to call this a complete standalone novel because almost all the main characters, almost all of them were characters from the Legends of the First Empire. I mean, the main character himself, Nolyn, is actually a descendant of 2 of the main characters in Legends of the First Empire. Just for that alone, I already cannot recommend you to actually dive into Nolyn without reading at least Legends of the First Empire. Yeah, but if you have read Legends of the First Empire, I keep on saying the series title, oh my god. But yeah, if you have read that series, I definitely recommend you to pick up the Rise and Fall trilogy, which is a bridged trilogy that will bridge Legends of the First Empire to the Rhyria books. Definitely recommend it. I do not consider this to be as good as some of the books in the Rhyria books. I mean, you know what? I actually said this in my TBR video, but none of the books in Legends of the First Empire and also the Rise and Fall so far have managed to reach the highest quality in the Rhyria books. But that's just my opinion, probably due to my deep connection with Royce and Hadrian and also the characters from the Rhyria series. But this book, it is great. It's short, and as always, the writing is very accessible, the story is engaging, and in Nolyn, Michael J. Sullivan tells the story through a murder mystery and also military fantasy. And although I felt the revelations behind the murder mystery was, well, quite predictable, but seeing it unfolding felt satisfying to me. And there is still some surprises though. There were one character's death here. I do not think it is a spoiler to say that, because if you have read the Rhyria books, well, you will know that these characters will die by the time we reach the Rhyria books. One of the main reasons to read Legends of the First Empire and also the Rise and Fall trilogy is to find out the details behind these events. In Nolyn, I witnessed one of them, and it was surprising in a very good way. That's really all I can say without giving any spoilers regarding what happened here. But I think if you are a fan of Michael J. Sullivan, if you have read the Rhyria books, you have read the Legends of the First Empire, then you will definitely enjoy reading Nolyn. I have heard from many fans of the series that the second book, Farilyn, and even the newest and upcoming book, Ashra Hadon, are the best of the series, and that makes me excited, very excited. I will be reading Farilyn, the second book in the Rise and Fall trilogy within this month. So I want to say thank you so much to my patrons for giving me the motivation to pick up this book and this trilogy sooner, because the Rise and Fall trilogy is one of my top priority series that I want to start and finish this year. And the second book that I finished last month is of course a book that I've been talking about for an entire month, and it is The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. This is the first book in the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy, and I mentioned earlier that I gave a book with a 5 stars rating within the month of May. And this is the 4th time it happened within this year, and of course it has to be this book. I loved it so much. I already did a full spoiler-free review about The Dragonbone Chair, and also a full spoiler discussion with Alex from Tall Guy Reads recently on my YouTube channel. Feel free to check that out. And I want to say thank you so much to all of you who joined my read along with Alex from Tall Guy Reads. I got many pictures from all of you saying that you're reading this from all over the world, and it makes me super happy seeing that. Seriously, it did. And yeah, this is the Grim Oak Press edition. Sorry for the glossy cover here. This is the Grim Oak Press edition of the Dragonbone chair. I think it is absolutely stunning. It is a beautiful edition. I do think this edition is one of the most beautiful special edition that I own. It is expensive though, but I do think it is kind of worth the price. If there is one thing that I'm not too happy about this edition, is that it has a glossy cover. Sorry, I am not a fan of glossy cover. I mean, just take a look at this. You can see the reflection here. It's so annoying. But other than that, I'm really happy with this edition. I made a gamble on purchasing the Dragonbone chair because I had a good feeling I would end up loving it, and this gamble paid off really nicely. Imagine if I end up hating this book. It would be, well, it would be such a sad gamble, right? Many people have mentioned that the first 200 pages of the Dragonbone chair felt too slow, and although I can kinda understand that, but Ted Williams' prose definitely carried the book, carried this entire section wonderfully. For me, I never felt bored reading this book, never. The world building was impeccable in my opinion. Just from reading the first book, I mean, it's only the first book and I'm already super impressed and immersed with the world that Ted Williams has crafted in the Austen Art saga. It made me super excited to read the continuation, The Stone of Farewell, and also to Green Angel Tower as soon as possible. And yes, I will be reading The Stone of Farewell probably within this week. And the discussion for The Stone of Farewell will take place on Alex's channel, probably at the end of this month or at the beginning of next month. But once again, I absolutely love this one. Reading this actually made me realize just how many modern fantasy books that I love. And I'm not saying that every fantasy book need to have this, but reading the Dragonbone chair made me realize just how many of them actually shy on giving too many details on the world building that have the ability to make their world even more immersive and livable. That's what Ted Williams did in the Dragonbone chair, and you can definitely see a lot of fantasy books, popular fantasy series like A Song of Ice and Fire or The Kingkiller Chronicle, or even the not popular one, being inspired, whether they realize it or not, by the Dragonbone chair, and I assume the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy. I'm so looking forward to reading this continuation as soon as possible. If this goes well, if let's say every book in the Austen Art saga ends up being something that I love, well, then there's no doubt that Austen Art saga and also Ted Williams will become one of my favorite authors and one of my favorite series of all time. And then the third book that I finished last month, it was the third volume in the Mother of Learning series by Nobody 103 or Domagoj Kurmaic. I absolutely love this one. I do not think it has reached a 5-star material for me yet, but one of the things I'm very happy about the third volume in Mother of Learning is how the criticism that I gave in Mother of Learning Volume 2, I'm very happy to say that my criticisms in that book became something fruitful in the third volume. Like, for example, in my review of Mother of Learning Volume 2, I mentioned that the beginning, the first 30% of it, felt like, well, it felt like Zorian went on a side quest that doesn't feel important at all. And no, that's no longer the case, because it became something important in the third volume, and that makes me happy. The character development was so well done in my opinion. I mean, for the past 2 volumes, this series has always been about Zorian. And yes, it is still the case in the third volume, and I assume, of course, the fourth and final volume of Mother of Learning as well, which I will read this month. I'm so pumped to read the continuation, really, especially after that brutal cliffhanger of an ending. But yeah, back to the point. The story in Mother of Learning is no longer exclusively Zorian's story. It is mostly Zorian and Zack, and I love their duo so much. I think the banter and the friendship between two of them, or their rivalry, but the friendship between the two of them was so fun to read. And we finally get to see Diamond, but yeah, Diamond is Zorian's infamous brother. He has been mentioned many times for the past 2 volumes, and we finally get to see Zorian interact with him in this book. There are plenty of revelations, and it truly feels like the third volume is the beginning of the end. I mean, after all, we only have 1 more volumes, and I think the 4th volume has a good potential to become the best of the entire series. I cannot recommend this series highly enough. I mentioned this in my review of Mother of Learning Arc 1, but if this is actually a sign of how good a web novel series can be, I definitely have to pick up more web novel fantasy series. The first book up to the third book of Mother of Learning has been very consistently impressive in my opinion. I highly recommend this series if you are in need of a great time loop or time travel fantasy series. Especially even more so if you are a fan of Magical Academy, which is a huge aspect of the entire series. I'm kind of sad that I don't have the hardcover copy published by Raidmark for the second volume, third volume, and the fourth volume though, because I used that hardcover copy of Mother of Learning Arc 1, and it somehow felt really fun to read from that hardcover edition. I do believe that special edition, especially when they are well produced, do enhance our reading experience. Even though Mother of Learning Arc 1, the hardcover is not considered as a special edition, it's just a standard hardcover edition. I mean, if that's really a standard edition, then wow, I'm very impressed with the quality that Raidmark Creative has done. But my point stands, I think reading volume 1 from the hardcover edition actually do enhance my reading experience. And it's kind of a shame that I do not have a hardcover copy of the remaining books in the series. But I will get them when they're ready to be published by Raidmark Creative. Anyway, I am rambling. Seriously, give this series a try if you loved fantasy series with time loop, time travel, and Magical Academy. Then the fourth book that I finished last month, it is Ruination by Anthony Reynolds. This is the first novel in the League of Legends universe, the popular video game. So I just found out there was actually another book that took place in the same world as the League of Legends, written by the same author, but it was a novella. So this is indeed the first novel in the world of the League of Legends, the first official novel. And just like I think many readers out there, we started reading Ruination because of how much we love the TV show Arcane. In my honest opinion, Arcane is one of the best TV shows out there. I have watched the TV show probably 3 times now, or 2 times, I forgot. But yeah, I will watch it again when season 2 comes out. And because of how much I love Arcane, I wanted to know more about this world. I want to know more about the world building and lore in the world of Runeterra. That's the world of League of Legends. And so, of course, I pick up this book. And yes, I'm using the reversible dust jacket here. This artwork is done by Valentina Remenar, and it features 2 of the main characters, Callista and also Viego. Viego is her young uncle, and I surprisingly enjoyed this much more than I expected. If you have read a lot of fantasy books, I do not think this will actually blow your mind, or this probably won't become one of your favorite books. It did not become one of my favorites, but I will be lying if I say I did not enjoy reading this book. It was just so fun, and it was what I needed. I've been reading a lot of big books lately, and this one is only about 100,000 words long, about 400 pages, and it is incredibly readable and engaging with great characters as well. And my main purpose, as I said, of reading this book is to get more lore and world building of the world of Runeterra, and I got what I wanted. It's just an entertaining and engaging book. It is a story about obsession, loyalty, and a descent into madness. It is so well done in my opinion. I am so hoping there will be more books in the world of Runeterra, more novels, because I am not a fan of the video game League of Legends. I played it about once or twice and it played just like Dota, and I'm not a fan of playing those kind of games. It's just too anger inducing for me. Yeah, I personally think these kind of games is even more anger inducing compared to games like From Software games like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and all that. Yeah. Also, I did not actually realize how much lore was there in the world of Runeterra until I finished watching Arcane, and I decided to do my own research, watching the videos and all that. And there are so much details here. Amazing stuff, really. I hope that there will be more TV show and also more books in the world of Runeterra. And one more thing before I talk about the final book that I finished last month, I have to say that Orbit did a great job in producing this book. This is the standard hardcover edition of Ruination, and it already comes with a reversible dust jacket, a beautiful end paper, and also a few characters artwork by Kudos Production. Imagine getting this kind of production value for a standard hardcover. I know that this is just wishful thinking, I wish we can get this kind of features added to, well, all standard hardcover of fantasy books. But yeah, that will not happen. I have a good feeling there will be a special edition produced for Ruination though. And finally, the last book that I finished last month is of course a reread of a book in the Red Rising saga, and it is for Iron Gold by Pierce Brown. This is the 4th volume in the Red Rising saga series, and I think this one is the most criminally underrated book in the entire series. Or I don't know if you are a fan of Red Rising Saga or not, but if you are a fan of the series, then you might probably realize that this one is often deemed as the weakest of the entire series, and I highly disagree with that. I think this is the first sign of Pierce Brown leveling up as a more mature writer. I still think on reread Morningstar is still the best of the series, but I enjoyed this one as much as the first time I read through Iron Gold. The book takes place about a decade after the end of Morningstar, and it features some of our favorite main characters in their, well, older state. There was a text in Morningstar, and also I think Pierce Brown said something like this, but with the passing of time, with the arrival of adulthood, that means you lose your freedom because you have more responsibilities, you have more duties, you have a job and all that. And I think that is displayed very nicely in Iron Gold. Darrow and also some of our beloved characters now have responsibilities, and it puts, well, let's just say, a fracture in their relationship with one another. And it's not only that, I mean, I love that kind of theme. I can definitely resonate with something like that, and I think many of you can as well. But it's not only that, I think the addition of new POV characters, 3 new POV characters, and all four POV characters in this book is told through a first-person narration. I think doing this actually added depth to the storytelling in Red Rising Saga. It did make the story less intimate if you only want to get the story from the perspective of Darrow, but I think that is not what Pierce Brown is trying to do here. I mean, Pierce Brown is clearly trying to show the effect of Darrow's actions, whether it's in the first trilogy or maybe in this book. He's trying to show the effect of his actions to other POV characters. And he nailed it magnificently well, from my perspective anyway. There were a lot of beautiful passages in Iron Gold, and yes, I absolutely love this one. Now I have only one more book left, and that is Dark Age. In my reread, I look forward to finding out how I will feel about that book within this month. Oh, by the way, speaking of Dark Age, I actually think on my first read, Dark Age was actually my least favorite book in the entire series. And yeah, I think that can be considered as a very unpopular opinion. I have a feeling that this will change though on reread, and I will find out about that very soon. So that's it. That's all the novels that I finished in the month of May. For a manga volume, I finished only one volume, and it was the final book in the final volume in the Fire Force series. And yeah, you can probably guess this from my previous wrap-up video. I did a sin here because I skipped the entire series up to the last volume. I'm sorry, I really cannot stand the entire series anymore. I just want to find out how this series will connect to Soul Eater, and I got what I wanted in the final volume. So yeah, I think after reading that, I'm happy to see how it connects to Soul Eater. But that's it. I definitely won't be reading this series. It's just I had so many issues with it. And that's it. That's all the novels and the manga that I finished. My favorite book of the month will of course have to be The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. Do let me know what you think about my May wrap up, and of course I'm always thankful for the support that you gave me, because May is one of the best performing month on my YouTube channel, and I am very pleased with that and all the kind messages that I have received last month. Anyway, once again, do let me know what you think about my May wrap up, and also let me know how many books you finished last month, which one was your favorite book of the month. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support. Bye bye. Lastly, I want to say thank you so much once again to all my patrons who keep on supporting me.